begin.
What up, nation? Welcome to another edition of the WiseTake NBA DFS Wise stream. Our final look, CK013 here. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. And I, of course, am from the WiseTake Nation, which you can find on all the social media platforms listed above or directly at WiseTake.com if you're ready to take that next leap to better your DFS game. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the break. Some of you were tuning in with me for the early look. Appreciate those of you that have. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, hit the notifications bell so you do not miss out on any of the free content we do on this channel. We are a premium DFS content provider as well as a DFS community designed to help make you a better DFS player. A little bit of information has come in since the early stream. Nothing too crazy, but just minor differences that probably will impact the way lineups are built today. Definitely impact some of our projections, some of our rankings. For those of you who didn't catch the show earlier, the cheat sheets that we provide over at WiseTake.com are now automated to pull and rank players in each tier based off of their point per dollar value. Something that I think is a really big plus for us to make sure that all of our content is consistent with giving the same message. Right now, currently, still working remote. We'll be back home tomorrow. So all the regular content, I know those of you who are usually with us, you see so the setup's a little bit different, everything else. We will be back to regular schedule on Monday. In the meantime, we're going to do what we do to deliver you the content the best way that we can. And that is by dropping sevens and doing dirties, because that's just what we do. With that said, if you haven't already, please hit that like button, guys. I know we had a stream earlier. Some of you already hit the like button on that one, but unfortunately we did have to change some things around because the stream, YouTube just wasn't cooperating. I don't know what to tell you. But hit the like button if you haven't already. It really helps us out. Goes a long way. Normally, guys, I interact more with the chat. Unfortunately, with this setup I have now, I'm not going to be able to interact with the chat as much. Again, on Monday, we'll be back to the usual. I'll be able to work with you guys. I like talking to you guys. I like to hear your feedback live on the show. I like when you guys participate. So we'll be going back to that at some point. But in the meantime, we're going to do the first hour game by game with myself and you guys just chilling. And then we're going to bring on Paulie. Paulie will be doing a solo second hour of the show, leading you guys up to lock, making sure you guys are updated with the latest injury news and answering questions and everything he could do to do his thing. Paulie will be taking over the Core Plays article while I focus in on our projections. Our projections that you see on the screen, this is a visual I made for you guys to follow along. The projections themselves are available for download to WiseTake Nation subscribers at WiseTake.com. With that said, let's go ahead and get started with our first game, which is Milwaukee at Detroit. Not a ton's changed here. As far as we saw, we've got a 225.5 total. Currently, that's up from 224.5. The Bucks are currently 13-point favorites on the road. Not a ton has changed. I mean, you pretty much need to project the minutes where you think, according to the game flow. We know that the Milwaukee Bucks are one of the best teams in the East. We know that they are cautious with how they play their main players. Middleton, Bledsoe, and Yanis. And honestly, even outside of them, they don't like to play a ton of people a ton of minutes. They're really big on the minute management. So because of that, on DraftKings, they kind of seem priced out. Obviously, Yanis is the one that you're always willing to take a chance on. I don't think Bledsoe is too far out of reach, but a little bit for us based off where we have him. If you feel more confident that he's going to play more minutes, you can certainly give him a couple more, which would help his projection. But on FanDuel, I think they're both in reach. Middleton and Bledsoe are both fairly cheap over there. Obviously, a lot of people are cheap over there on FanDuel. They underprice pretty much everyone. But for the time being, I do think that on DraftKings, Yanis is the main target that I'd be looking at here. Not to say, I can't say he's my favorite stud, but I do think he'll come in somewhat low-owned as people may be a little afraid of the blowout. And rightfully so. I mean, this Detroit team is not, they were already a bad team to begin with, and they've gotten worse. With some of the, losing Andre Drummond, losing Reggie Jackson, some of those little things, or at least we think they did. But either way, Yanis on DraftKings I'm cool with. On FanDuel, I'm good with all of them. I'm good with Yanis, Bledsoe, and Middleton. Not to say they're my favorite plays on the slate by any stretch, but I think they're a lot more reachable over there. As far as Detroit, this is a team that we're going to want to pay attention to and kind of figure out here. We like to take shorthanded teams. There are two teams that are very shorthanded coming into tonight's slate. One of them is the Detroit Pistons. The other one is Chicago Bulls. We'll talk about them in a second. So I did read a couple things. One, Pistons coach had mentioned that he doesn't really see Brown as a true point guard. Kind of sees him more as a 2-1 rather than a 1-2. With that said, they got Derrick Rose back, so we would anticipate the offense to run entirely through him. The only hesitation I have is how many minutes are they willing to play Derrick Rose. I guess we'll have to see what the starting lineup looks like. Christian Wood, I do like quite a bit. I think on DraftKings at 6'9", the price is just way too low on a site that gives you bonuses for double doubles and whatnot. So I do like Christian Wood a pretty fair amount on this slate, especially when looking at the position of power forward on both sides, really. So Christian Wood would be a mainstay. Again, I do want to work in some Derrick Rose. I think Bruce Brown on DraftKings, I don't know how much I reach him. He's got a good projection, but we have other players who are cheaper that project better, that may do a little bit more for us. But on FanDuel at 3,800, I think that the Bruce Brown can obviously take you a lot further, and there's way less of an expectation. But I do anticipate him playing a lot of minutes. Now, Luke Kennard, Reggie Jackson, Andre Drummond's gone. Blake Griffin's still out. There is one variable. They do have Jordan Bone, I believe, up with them after Reggie's departure, so I'm not sure how they plan on using him. We'll have to wait and see what they do. But if Bruce Brown doesn't get the point guard minutes and Derrick Rose doesn't get the full point guard minutes, then I would imagine he's going to have to step up and play a little bit. But again, we don't. As of right now, we're just kind of assuming that it's going to be the Derrick Rose and Bruce Brown show, and we know Derrick Rose is maybe not likely to see monster minutes. So I think that with that said, I think Bruce Brown is going to pick up a lot of that slack and end up playing a lot of those minutes. Like I said, unless they decide to go with Bone for any reason. Langston Galloway can obviously work into that, but they do prefer to use him at the 2 or the 3 as one of their shooters, especially with Luke Kennard out. Thon Maker, he's not showing up great for us. Maybe we're a little conservative with his minutes. I'll have to analyze that in that second hour show when Paulie's breaking it down. But revenge spot for him as well, and he's actually played pretty well. So Milwaukee, we know, is not necessarily a team where we fear centers against, but we know Yanis is a great rebounder, great rim protector, and all that stuff. But not a ton else. Again, Derrick Rose and Christian Wood are my mainstays, and on FanDuel, I do like Bruce Brown quite a bit because of the price. Svi Mihajlovic is, to me, kind of a pivot. We've got other guys like Chandler Hutchison, who we'll talk about, who are a little bit cheaper. But certainly if you're afraid to eat that kind of chalk, you can take a shot on a few other players, and one of them is Svi. I would anticipate him to get around 24 minutes and to get an opportunity. So just someone to kind of keep in mind if you are looking to get a little bit different. With that said, let's go on to the next. We've got, of course, this thing ain't going to work on me, right? We've got the Miami Heat visiting the Atlanta Hawks. This total opened up at 231. Currently, the Heat are 6.5-point favorites on the road. So we're going to pull up the Heat, talk about the road team. Not a ton really changed here, right? This is all information that we had like before. I think Butler is is a solid mid-tier option. I think Bam Adebayo is in a really good spot, and his 7.8 price tag on DraftKings definitely friendly. Things are going to be a little bit different. We saw a little flash of it, right? We saw Jay Crowder get big minutes. We saw Andre Iguodala play around 23 minutes or so. So they still have some injuries. Myers Leonard's still out. Tyler Hero's still out. But obviously between Dragic and Nunn, there are a couple guard options. Now with Dragic, we know the usage is high. We know that the price is still fair. He is, I think, an option. I mean, especially if you're reluctant to play Derrick Rose, but you need somebody in that price range. I think Dragic could help fill a void. This is Atlanta, so they're going to be paced up. No defense being played. The biggest loser, I guess, in all this and in the new acquisitions has been Kendrick Nunn. I was a little aggressive with his minutes to begin with because this is a guy that we're playing a ton of minutes. It's hard for me to believe they're just going to go back. They're just going to now only play him 25 to 26 minutes a game, especially with Tyler Hero out. But we'll have to see what happens tonight, and that may be the plan going forward. Duncan Robinson, we know, gets big minutes with Tyler Hero out, and that's in that shooter's role. But again, it's the usual for me. Iguodala, another potential pivot. If you are comfortable, if you're not comfortable eating some of that Chicago chalk that we'll talk about later. But Dragic on DraftKings grades out, and on FanDuel really grades out to be one of the better plays for us on the team. And again, this is a pace-up spot. This is a piece a team you're going to want a piece of. But I think Dragic and Butler are my two favorites. Bam closely behind, not very far behind. And after that, I think you can work in pieces of Duncan Robinson, Jay Crowder, Iggy. If you're looking to do so. It's like I said, pace-up situation against Atlanta. Really good matchup as far as defense goes. So I'm good. I think getting some exposure to Miami is probably the right thing to do on a slate like this, 6-gamer. On the Atlanta side, it's the usual for me. I mean, when there's an injury, it's one thing, but with everybody healthy, it's mainly Trae Young. If you want to go there, if you have the money to spend at point guard, Kevin Huerter on FanDuel is only 4,600, so he's going to project well for us. John Collins on DraftKings, I'm not really into at 8.7, but on FanDuel at 7.8, definitely some meat on the bone for sure. I think that Hunter's played really well. This is a guy that I always have a hard time playing, but he's played better, no doubt. As we got closer to this as of now, I would anticipate that the plan is to play him at center while they can. So I put him at 28, I think 27.5 or 28, and he's fine. I mean, if you're looking for a value center, I think it's fine. Got the Brooklyn Nets and the Philadelphia 76ers. So this is one we're going to be waiting on some news for on the Philly side anyway. This total opened up at 217. The Sixers are currently 7.5 point favorites. That's come down from 8.5, so I wonder if that's any indication on Ben Simmons, who, by the way, I'm just going to check real quick and make sure we didn't get that news while I was setting up here. I don't believe so. No, nothing yet. If we hear anything on Paulie, we'll keep you guys posted in the second half of the show, but nothing so far on Ben Simmons. Questionable, remains a game time decision. But as far as the Brooklyn side goes, it's Dinwiddie and Caris LeVert are going to be your two main targets with Kyrie Irving out. LeVert being in the starting lineup and playing more minutes has definitely affected Dinwiddie. In a close game script, if this game just stays tight and there's a shootout, those are going to be your main two culprits. I have a tendency to lead towards LeVert because he's cheaper, just less expectation. But you can see we've got LeVert over projected minutes-wise, just to kind of balance out and the increase he receives in usage, because the usage is massive. He's a different player when Kyrie's in and when Kyrie's out. So Dinwiddie and LeVert are my main two here. On FanDuel, I love the pricing on both of them. Again, Philly is a team that is known for their defense. If Ben Simmons is out, that is going to be a hit. They still have Jay Rich, who's a very good defender, but definitely going to be a hit if Ben Simmons and his size at the guard position is ruled out. So Caris LeVert and Dinwiddie are the main culprits. Taurean Prince is okay for value, just a guy to kind of work in. Joe Harris has played really well. I don't love playing guys that are so scoring dependent, but he has played well before the break. The one who's kind of missed out the most has been Jared Allen. His minutes have been way down. DeAndre Jordan's minutes were up for a game or two, then they went down, so there were situations where they went small. But if I was going to pick a center in this spot, I think I have to lean towards DeAndre Jordan, especially being that Joel Embiid is on the other side of that, someone a little bit bigger, stronger, that plays a little more defense, I would think. Not that that's going to stop Embiid, but it's probably a better chance to do so than throwing out Jared Allen against him. So I'm cool with this. I think it's another potential game stack, just one of those games where we can see Brooklyn kind of step up. And Philly has been one of the best home teams in the game. They've been probably the worst road team in the game, but one of the best at home. So I think this game could be interesting. On the Philly side, we had mentioned we're waiting on Ben Simmons news. That's obviously pretty big. So even with Ben Simmons in, we have him in for now. If he's in, Jay Rich already looks like a phenomenal play on DraftKings. On FanDuel, you're not as excited. I think you got Bruce Brown for 30, 38. You got other guys. On DraftKings at 4-2, I think that there's plenty of meat on this bone here. 42 is too cheap. He played 32 minutes in his last game before the break. They've moved Al Horford to the second unit. We'll see if they continue to do that. But if they do, obviously the main starter's usage should be expected to be higher. Tobias Harris and Joel Embiid, as far as non-value players, are my two favorites here. Ben Simmons, I'm sure, is in a phenomenal spot if he does play, and he's one of the, I think, top 5 in minutes in the league. So if he is in, we should expect him to play a ton. The DraftKings price tag makes him a little tough to reach. On FanDuel, a little more acceptable. But either way, Josh Richardson on DraftKings, Tobias Harris on both sites, and Joel Embiid, phenomenal play in this spot. He was a little slow going into the break, came back from an injury, just wasn't himself. But with Horford out of the starting lineup, assuming that's what they're doing again, I think that's really good for Joel Embiid. And it's a phenomenal nut matchup. DraftKings, he's just underpriced. He's going to be a player I have a ton of today. He's just underpriced. And again, if Ben Simmons were to get ruled out, you can give these guys even bigger of a boost. And then we have to consider, see what they're going to do with Alec Burks, Glenn Robinson, Furkan Korkmaz, who went on a crazy tear. So there could be some opportunity to open up. We like teams that are shorthanded. We like when there's a big usage player out. So we'll revisit this. I already like Tobias, Josh Richardson on DraftKings specifically for Richardson, Joel Embiid. If Simmons is out, I'll like them even more. And then we can also take a look at some of these other players. But I would definitely raise the projection and raise our exposures to the surrounding starters if Ben Simmons is ruled out. And that's how I'll keep it. Al Horford's kind of interesting. When he came off the bench with the second unit, there was an initial burst. He didn't finish the game as strong as you would have thought where he was headed. But yeah, at the end of the day, he's cheap, and he's still a pick against Brooklyn. So a phenomenal spot, especially if he's going to see some Taurean Prince defense. That's just doesn't get no better than toilet paper defense. Let's go on to the next, but something to pay attention to. That's definitely probably the biggest piece of news we are waiting for at the moment. Next up, we've got. This is good. If I get through this, maybe I can go back and answer some of them questions, and two birds, one stone kind of thing, right? We got the Charlotte Hornets visiting the Chicago Bulls. Let's take a look into this. Charlotte Hornets and the Bulls. Not a lot of players on this team, huh? Look at that. They're coming out pretty short looking. We know Marvin Williams is gone, and a lot of these teams did what they had to do waiver wise. Terry Rozier is the first standout here. Let me go over the line stuff. My bad. So this one opened up at 209, which makes sense because Charlotte is probably the slowest team in the league, I believe, somewhere close. Chicago, not a very fast team either. Both teams terrible defensively, so there's some counteraction there. But starting with the Charlotte side, Terry Rozier just seems way underpriced, extremely underpriced at this particular point. All right, looking good there. Let's go back here. Looks like Google Sheets is going to connect. In the meantime, I'm going to keep rolling. So Terry Rozier underpriced on both sides, 5,700 on DraftKings, 56 on FanDuel. He missed the last game going into the break with an injury. Obviously, he's healthy, good to go. He's a guy that plays big minutes for him. Chicago, not exactly a strong defensive team. One of their better defenders in Chris Dunn has been out and is still out. On the flip side of that, I think you could argue that Shaq Harrison, assuming he gets more run today, which we'll talk about on the other side of this game, is a pretty good defender, but we don't know where they're going to stick him. They could decide to stick him on Devontae Graham, which would probably make more sense. He's been a little more of an offensive threat on the season with his three-point shooting and everything else. So I like Rozier a ton. There's a lot of point guards we like today, and Rozier is one of them. He's just underpriced, plays big minutes. Cody Martin for value. Again, there's value lying around everywhere, so you should be able to get the builds you want. Devontae Graham on FanDuel, I like a lot. On DraftKings, I'm okay with him. Yeah, he did play well going into the break, which was nice after a little slump. But I think that Terry Rozier is just that's just the price point. I'm going to pick him every time, saving almost $2,000 on DraftKings to go with Rozier. Malik Monk has gotten big minutes. We loaded up on him when Rozier was ruled out in that last game. With Rozier back, the usage may not be as high, but I still anticipate him playing 29 to 30 minutes, so I'm still fine with him as a potential value. Miles Bridges, I'm jacked up his minutes because of how well he's played. He's played really well. The price is still up to a point that'll make you a little uncomfortable, but we've seen a different side to him. We've seen him play more aggressively, grab rebounds, everything, and enticing us to go there against a bad rebounding team in Chicago. Cody Zeller, you're kind of just playing that game, man. Him and Hernan Gomez, you don't really know what they're going to do with the bigs. They work in PJ Washington as well, who seems to be missing from this currently. I have to make some updates to this FanDuel one in a second here. We will make some updates. Yeah. So we'll go ahead and get that fixed up in the last hour of the show. Just missing a couple players here. With that said, we'll keep things rolling, but I think PJ Washington does actually make a lot of sense as a value option, just being as how this is a team that struggles against centers, and PJ Washington does play a lot of center, which is limiting Cody Zeller's minutes and Hernan Gomez's minutes. So PJ is a guy that we'll have to make sure we go in there and pop up there. But yeah, again, it's a situation where I want to pick my spots. This is a slow-paced game, etc., etc. On the Chicago side, Chicago and we talked about it earlier. Them and Detroit are two of the thinner teams on the slate. Shaq Harrison projecting through the roof. Why? Because he's been priced on DraftKings. He's 37 on FanDuel, and we're anticipating him to play 24 to 26 minutes at least because Chandler Hutchison is out. It's not just Hutchison. Wendell Carter's out. Hutchison's out. Valentine's out. Porter's out. Chris Dunn is out. Markkanen's out. They're missing a lot of people. We've got some guys. Adam Makoka, right? Max Strus. You just don't anticipate these guys playing a ton, which I think means we're going to see more from Kobe White and Shaq Harrison. I talked about this earlier. Ironic that the two players two of the value plays that we're going to be big on today happen to be Shaq and it's a different version. But Shaquille Harrison, Kobe White are two of my top value plays going into the day. Shaq is really, really hard to get away from on DraftKings at min price. just anticipating he's going to play the minutes. Is it possible he doesn't get the minutes for thinking? It's possible. I just don't know how. It just seems to me like probable that he does get the minutes that we're anticipating. He's a little more expensive on FanDuel, but he's one of the best in the game at grabbing steals, which is obviously a big boost on FanDuel. So I'll have a lot of Shaq Harrison. I'll have a lot of Kobe White. I'm not really crazy interested in the rest of the team. I think that looking at the bigs is kind of interesting. Zach LaVine's price is kind of getting out of hand, but looking at the bigs is always interesting. But you're playing that game, and they have Gafford back. So between Gafford, Luke Cornett, and Felicio, it's just kind of tough to take that stand there. Ooh. It looks like, did we just get word that Ben Simmons is out? There's a tweet out there saying that the Phillies are saying that Simmons is out. I'll confirm. Oh, yep, Ben Simmons is ruled out. Okay. So Ben Simmons got ruled out, everybody. I'll make those adjustments, like I said, on the second part of the show when Paulie takes over. So get ready to load up on Philly. We're going to be playing that. I was already going to be playing a ton of J. Rich. Expect it to go up. Expect Embiid to go up. Expect Tobias to go up. Even Horford, I think we can grab some shares of at this point. That's a big usage player out. So get ready to load up on Philly. But yeah, especially after talking about all this stuff we've talked about, there's not a ton of the Bulls that I want outside of Shaq Harrison, Kobe White. Those are the main two for me, and I'll have a lot of them for sure. More Shaq Harrison because the min price and the small forward eligibility kind of goes a long way on a slate like this. But yeah, I'll have good exposure to both, no doubt. But again, Ben Simmons has been ruled out. We just got that news. Welcome back from the All-Star break. NBA is back. Gotta love it. Anyway, let's go on to the next game. I only got two more. I'm blowing through this, so that's cool because then I'll pull up the chat and we can, I'll be able to answer some questions what I wanted to do because we got time to kill. Next up, we got Memphis visiting Sacramento. We've got this total opened up at 229. The Kings opened up as 1-point favorites. They're now 1.5-point underdogs, which is always interesting. Starting off with the Memphis side, this is one of the more game stackable games, just based off the pricing of all the players and the matchup. Memphis, a top 10 team in pace this year. Sacramento, not very good defensively, nor is Memphis. I think Dylan Brooks is worth looking at. I think he'd be really low owned. If you look at his game logs, his results have been bad, but if you look at his usage rates, it's been massive. He's taken a ton of shots. The usage looks awesome. He's just not connecting. So maybe after the break, he's feeling a little bit. But if his shots are falling, if his usage continues to be where it was before the break, and he happens to be a little more efficient, he could be looking at a pretty big day. So not a guy I'm going to bet the farm on, but a guy I want to make sure to have some exposure to. I always set a rule. I talked about this in the early look with Memphis and optimizers. I have a rule not to pick only one of Brandon Clark, Jaren Jackson, and Jonas Valanciunas. Obviously, in this situation, we're more likely to get more of Jackson and Clark due to Joe Val's point per dollar projecting a little lower. It is a really good spot for all three, just a matter of how they play it. Now, the Kings have gone small in the past, playing B elites a lot to 5, which could force Joe Val off the court if they're having a problem keeping up pace, whatever the case may be, which could lead to more minutes for a guy like Brandon Clark, obviously. But I don't like to play them together. I want only one of those three. And I always set that rule in the optimizers. If there's a game where I'm wrong and all three of them go off, then so be it. But for the most part, if you go back, it's very rare that even two of those guys have a good game together. So I'll be picking, I'll set a rule to have one. And like I said, as of right now, I think Clark and Jaren Jackson are more likely to come in there over Joe Val. But I did run some crunches. I did build some teams, and I was getting a little bit of Joe Val, so I felt good about that because it is a really good spot for him. I think John Morant, one of the variables in this game. His minutes have been a little inconsistent, so is his performances, but we know he's got massive upside, so not a guy we want to ignore. On FanDuel, a little easier to reach, obviously because he's cheaper. DeAnthony Melton, I think if we didn't have all the value we had, I'd be looking at him harder, but with all the value we have, he just doesn't rank high enough for me at this point. I think that I think that's about it. Like, I'm not really trying to mess with Kyle Anderson if I don't have to. Like, I save those kind of guys for when I don't have anything else, and I think we have enough today. I'm not trying to dip it. But again, you can see I think the game stack is viable in this particular situation, no doubt. The Kings side, they're the ones getting paced up in this one. The Kings have not been as fast this year as they were last year, but they still suck defensively, so there's still room for fantasy up in this. So, De'Aaron Fox, one of my favorite plays on the slate. I got him at 33.5 minutes. It shows on the screen rounded up to 34, but 7,400 on DraftKings is way too cheap. Almost projected for 6x by himself. Definitely my favorite mid-tier play on the slate. Probably my favorite point guard on the slate. True point guard. And point guards have done the dirty to Memphis all year, getting paced up. It just looks great. Now, we did see Walton kind of limit his minutes a little bit towards the end. I'm thinking that's more of a schedule load management type situation, but I guess we'll find out tonight. But I definitely like De'Aaron Fox, and I'm willing to take a shot on that. He's a player I have a lot of. I think Buddy Hield is also someone worth considering. His usage rate since he's gone to the second unit has been a lot higher, and he's closing for the most part. So I think there's still some flexibility there. Bogdanovich is cheap. I think he's within reach. I'm fine with him as well. So again, it's another team. The Kings almost always where they're priced. It makes for a solid team stack situation. Where things get confusing after those three players is when we get to the bigs. So Jabari Parker has been cleared to play. He's expected to make his debut. Alex Len, I saw a report that he was out. Then I saw another report he was questionable. So we'll have to wait. I have him out for now because the source that I typically rely on had him out. But again, I did see a beat writer list him as questionable. So I'm not totally sure. Hopefully we get some clarity on that situation as we go. But that's going to affect guys like Bjelica, who's been playing a lot of five. When this team has decided to go small. So we'll have to see. They have Jabari, who's not a true center, but can play the five. They got Giles, who they don't seem to want to play big minutes for whatever reason. Although I will admit that at his price, he's an interesting value option if you needed it. Not something I'm crazy about. But to me, it's the main three. De'Aaron Fox, one of my top ones. And then after that, Hield and Bogdanovich, I think, are secondary plays here. But I will have a lot of De'Aaron Fox today, no doubt. We're going to go on to the next game, which is the last game, and then I'll pop in the chat, and we'll see if we can get some questions. And then after that, we'll sign off and get Paulie on. So, next up, we've got the Houston Rockets and the Golden State Warriors, a little late-night hammer action. The sole 10:30 p.m. Eastern game. Let's go to Houston. So we got this total opened up at 232 and a half, 232 and a half, which was opened up as the highest. Initially, we've got a 9.5 point spread that's actually come down to, I saw it as high as 10 at some points, but with Eric Gordon out, I think that's kind of led to this situation. But with Gordon out, we gave a boost to Covington, who projects to be one of our top power forward plays on the slate. I do like Covington quite a bit, especially with Gordon being out. I think he plays big minutes, and we know his role is pretty solidified. He's going to play that 3-and-D, grab some boards on a small team. The Rockets did make some interesting signings during that break, picking up some waived players. I'm not sure how they're going to be incorporated, as I don't think they've had a ton of time to kind of prepare with this team and prepare with this role, but we'll have to see what they decide to do. In the meantime, we're going to just kind of treat it as business as usual, so I expect Covington to get monster minutes. I think Harden and Westbrook are definitely affordable today because of all the value we have. I lean towards Harden, as I usually do. I know there's been situations where Westbrook kind of was just killing us and kept going off. We kept playing Harden, but just looking at this raw projection alone, I've got Westbrook projected for a full minute higher than Harden, and Harden is not only out projecting him on a raw score basis, but his point per dollar is also higher. So with all this value and who to spend it on, I will be coming here. And the good thing is I'm always going to feel more confident playing a stud from the Rockets because they're more likely to play their guys in a blowout. They always do. So even if this game gets ugly, I expect Harden and Westbrook to still get their minutes in. The new house, a little more attractive now that Eric Gordon is out. Again, I think it all relates, and all these main guys do get a little more minutes. Same thing with PJ Tucker. I'm never really fond of playing a ton of PJ Tucker personally, but I respect the fact that he should play big minutes and he projects well. I'll probably lower his minutes a drop. I think 36 is maybe a little too aggressive for what I'm comfortable with. Funny how FanDuel made him center only. That's the truth. He's the center, but still weird. But yeah, I'll have a lot of Harden. I'll have a lot of Harden, a lot of Covington. That's for sure. I'll have a lot of those two guys, and I'll be working in some Russell Westbrook as well. And we'll have to see how it all plays out now that we got the openings at Philly. We're going to see Tobias Harris, Covington, and Christian Wood all projecting well, and they're all going to be competing to see who we get more of at similar positions. So I think that position became somewhat loaded in that we have a few guys to consider, but pretty concentrated in that it's only a few guys that stand out amongst the rest. On the Golden State side of the ball, we've got Marquis Chris has played extremely well, and I would expect him to continue. PJ Tucker on the other end is no slouch of a defender, but he is undersized. He's a risk, certainly a risk you can try taking in tournaments. Draymond Green, I'm not thrilled about on DraftKings at 6'5", but I think on 5'8", he's kind of interesting on FanDuel. He plays some point guard along with Jordan Poole. We've seen Kai Bowman's minutes just kind of get dumped to a degree. Speaking of Jordan Poole, he's played big minutes, and I think he's an interesting value play if you need it. We expect him to start at point guard again. He's been playing pretty well in that role, and his price is still pretty low for the situation. So I do like Jordan Poole. Andrew Wiggins, another one of those tournament darts, right? Like just taking a chance. I mean, I wouldn't say a dart, right? We understand what his role is. I think the price is reasonable. It's a good pace-up matchup. Houston, we know we're expecting them to play extremely fast because of how small they are. They already are fast, but we're expecting them to make it a mission, a point, to be the fastest team in the game. So that's kind of what I'm anticipating there. And we're going to act accordingly. So treat it for what it is. So again, Jordan Poole for value I like a lot. I think Marquis Chris is an interesting value play that will probably come in lower owned. And I think Andrew Wiggins, another low owned option. Remember, he's on a team where there is no cat. So we would expect him to have that ceiling. We just want to see him be more aggressive before we can really take a strong stance. But I think he's a fine tournament play on a slate like this. That's going to do it for the game by game. I know it kind of went quick. We were already kind of prepared for a lot of this stuff coming into it. We got some time to kill before we bring Paulie on in the final hour, so I'm going to go look at the chat real quick and see what we're working with here. Yeah, I see some of the questions in here. I'm digging in. Okay. Charles, what's up, bro? Yeah, I miss doing it too, no doubt. Smashing says Bucks going to cover the spread easily. I hear you. Okay, I don't disagree. Detroit looks pretty banged up. But I will say this, Vegas has a tendency, because remember, Vegas sets their lines based off of public perception, right? Vegas does have a tendency to overreact to injuries. Just something to keep in mind. Arizona Drama says Zach LaVine. He was just a little too expensive for me personally. A little too expensive, but hey, it's a 6-game slate. If you could reach him, which you can, you have the value. I think it's fine. Just not a guy that projected too well for me at that price in a environment that's going to be real slow. But again, there's no defense, so I think it's fine. Guys, if you haven't hit that like button, please smash that like button. It really helps us out. It really goes a long way. William Crudup says, yo, welcome back. Well, you welcome back, bro. Welcome everybody back, man. Appreciate it, but I'm sure we're all glad to be here. We all had the itch. Kyle, what's up, man? What's up? Devontae Graham tonight. Okay, that's interesting because I do think ownership-wise, everybody will flock to Rozier for that purpose. So I never mind trying to think of things differently and making low-owned pivots in tournaments. Arizona Drama, Ben Simmons is out. Yep, absolutely. David Torrey, no love for Jordan Big Bone tonight. Detroit point guard. It's not that I don't. To be honest, I just don't know what to expect from him. Again, I do think he gets minutes, and I'll analyze the projections as we go through when Paulie hops on here and I hop off. But, it's a situation that we have to analyze and we have to consider. Obviously, he is value. I know that they don't want to play Bruce Brown a ton at the 1. They're going to play him as the backup 1, but is Derrick Rose going to start? How many minutes is Derrick Rose able to play? These are all questions that we don't know. So it depends. So it's a risk, but I understand it. He is up with the team after the Reggie Jackson deal went down, or the buyout went down, I should say. So he is there. How many minutes he's going to play? I don't know. Matt M says Tobias or Richardson with Simmons out. Both. Love them both. Absolutely. I'll be loading up on Philly against Brooklyn. All the players are going to get increased usage. You'll see their projections raise as soon as I go in there and make these updates in the in-between session. But yeah, I love Tobias. I love J. Rich. I already like them, especially J. Rich. But now I'll be loading up on some Philly. Again, with the injury news, it kind of helps us concentrate and zone in on things. Morant or Wood in the utility spot in a cash game? I would go with Christian Wood. Mario Young said that one. I would go with Christian Wood simply because Christian Wood's role is solidified. His team has lost Andre Drummond and Reggie Jackson, so there's more usage to go around. I understand they're getting Rose back, but there's more usage to go around. I think his minutes are secure. I don't mind Morant. I'm cool with Morant for tournaments, but I don't like to play him in cash unless they're thin because he is a player whose minutes have been inconsistent. I think blowout or not, Christian Wood probably plays 32 minutes minimum. Morant, in a close game, if he's not playing well or for whatever reason, could end up playing, even for defensive purposes, because they are playing against De'Aaron Fox, he could end up playing lower minutes than I think anticipated. So that is kind of where I'm at with that. Yeah. Other than that, guys, I mean, if there's any questions, get them in. I'm pulling up the WiseStream page now. See what we do here. Let me go back and pull up some of this. Pull up. Got things going down here. Right. Who's the Sixers? Who's the Arizona Drama says, who is the 76ers play with him out? I mean, honestly, I think it's multiple people. I think Tobias Harris for sure, Joel Embiid, J Rich and Tobias are the two. Like, I'm not gonna say cop out answers, but they're two awesome plays that aren't expensive, right? Joel Embiid also underpriced. I'm gonna load up on Sixers, guys. I think you could have 4 Sixers in your lineup. That's fine. Now, you don't want to ignore the other situations because they're good as well, but you can have up to 4 Sixers in your lineup today, no problem. I wouldn't worry about it at all. Did get some news that DeAndre Hunter will play. He was probable anyway. How many players from the same game do you consider a game stack? It could be as little as a 2v2, a 3v3. A full game stack to me is really a 4v4. So 4 from each team is like a full game stack, but I think the most common is probably a 3v3 or a 2v2. I think you want to use value or whatever it is to get you the guys you want the most from the game. But I don't want to call it stacking, right? Because in baseball, we stack because there's correlation. In the NBA, there's no correlation stacking that I truly believe in the NBA. But I do believe that in a full team, and considering a full team being underpriced, I do believe that that's a scenario. That is something that we can see. That is something that we do see. So I believe in that, no doubt. So going back to the question, it really depends. But I think that it's about how does your team, like, you want to get the players in and then see what you got to do. If you have the value to make it all work, go for it. Who would you take for the spend up tonight? Giannis, Harden, or Westbrook? Harden is my first choice. Harden and Westbrook are my first two choices. Giannis, I think ownership on Giannis, I'm interested because the ownership. I don't want to take a huge stance on him because I am worried about the blowout. But it's just easier to play Harden or Westbrook because their coach, blowout or not, is going to play them monster minutes. Giannis has a higher point per minute than both of those guys, but Giannis only averages 31, 32 minutes a game, if that. So we could see a situation where Giannis gets 31 minutes, which may not be enough to give you the ceiling. Harden can end up playing 40 minutes tonight, even if the game blows out, because that's just Houston's style. That's just the dirty they do. So my ranking, I prefer Harden and Westbrook. But if you're building like a few teams or a couple teams and you're just looking to get to the top and be different, then yeah, Giannis is going to be one with lower ownership. But I will have a lot more Harden and Westbrook than I do Giannis. Especially being that we have a lot of things that have opened up at the forward positions, being that Tobias Harris just became stronger, even Horford became stronger, Covington became strong when Gordon got ruled out. So there's a lot going on at that particular position. Mike Conley ruled out for Friday for rest. For rest, bro, you just had the All-Star break. What kind of rest you look? That's funny. Chris Tatchik says, how much booze did you drink on vacay? None, bro. None. I'm not a huge drinker. I mean, I get my drink on once in a while, do the fun thing. But for the most part, my extracurricular activities are a little different. Don't really involve drinking all that much, if you know what I mean. Medicine is medicine. Alcohol to me is not. So, but it's just having some good time, being with good people, all that good stuff. That's what life is all about, right? But anyway, guys, I think. Oh, here we go. What about this? Under 5K player event got 25K. Thomas Doyle. What about this? Under 5K player event got 25K. I'm not sure what you mean, man. Hook me up with some details on that, and I'll be glad to answer any questions I could. Arizona drama. It's hard to fade Giannis because he can get a 60 burger with 32 minutes. It's true. It is true. And to your point, we talked about in the beginning, I mentioned that a lot of times Vegas overreacts. Maybe the spread should be more like 9 or 10, which isn't as intimidating as a 13-point spread. It's definitely a possibility. And again, I'll give you that. Giannis, the low ownership is fine. But if I'm building 150 teams, which I am, I'm going to ride with the players that I think have a more probability of giving me the ceiling. And I think as of right now, Harden and Westbrook have the bigger probability because their minutes are more likely to occur. I'm more likely to get those minutes from them. But with that said, say I have 60% Harden, say I have 30% Westbrook. It's not like I'm not going to have any Giannis. So it is a little bit of a different ball game when you are considering things like that. It is a little different. But so I'm good with it, man. You want to do something low owned, like in a single entry, kind of get different. You're building some. I'm fine with it. I'll probably have somewhere between 10 and 15% Giannis. I'll probably have somewhere around 60% Harden, 50 to 60% Harden. I'll probably have I don't know, like 30%, 20 to 30% Westbrook. Obviously, things are going to change because I'm going to make adjustments to our projections. So we'll have to see what we come up with. If you have access to WiseTake.com, you can certainly download them, upload them, do whatever it is that you got to do to make sure you got the things you need, because that's what we do. But check this out right quick. Cheat sheet action. Cheat sheet action. Where's that other browser at? My stream status. What up, LD? What up, LD? Hopefully you have a good break. MG, hope you enjoyed your break, bro. What's the number on Shaq Harrison you think it'll be at? If I'm not at 100, then I capped it. I'll put it that way, MG. If I'm not at 100%, then I capped it. Okay, Thomas, here we go. On DraftKings, if you pick the player 4,900 that scores the most. Oh, okay. I didn't even realize that they were doing that today. I see, Thomas. Okay, that's kind of cool, you know. 4,900. If you pick the player, why don't we take a look at our cheat sheet real quick and see? I mean, if I don't know the pricing isn't on there. I see what you're saying. That's interesting. I didn't realize they were doing that today. So, if you pick the player that 4,900 that scores the most DraftKings points, you win a share of 25K, and that's on DraftKings, huh? Let's take a look. Got to look into some of these prices real quick. 4,900, huh? 4,900. What do we got here? Let's go through and see if we can find somebody for you real quick, and then we'll get out of here. If they got to be exactly 4,900? I don't know. I should probably look into the full rules right before answering that question. Because I mean, if it could be a little less than 49, I'd say Kobe White. But I mean, he's not going to be that low owned. I don't think. I mean, shit, what players are 4,900? Is that just what you're left with? I guess Duncan Robinson would be a lower owned option. I mean, that's more risky. Kendrick Nunn, obviously more risky options, but because Kendrick Nunn, because the minutes have been down. Robinson, because he's very scoring dependent, right? I hope I'm answering your question right, man. My bad. Again, I'm a remote, so I don't have the resources I normally have. Just keep that in mind. But, next week we'll be back to normal doing what we do. And, I'll have my resources and everything I got to do. Arizona drama. I like Covington, though, from Houston. If I'm going to take anyone from the Rockets, I love Covington. Oh, it's 49 and below? Okay. So, I mean, he's not low owned, but I would still say Kobe White would be one of my favorites, or even Shaq Harrison. But if it's what has it got to be, like a raw points? That scores the most DK points. I would say Kobe. Yeah, I'd probably go Kobe White. Or Josh Richardson, even. Nah, probably Kobe White. I think he's got a bigger ceiling. But yeah, Arizona drama. I love Covington. Thomas, I like Richardson or White. I'm gonna have a lot of, especially Richardson. Rebel Ray Cage. Why do you like Shaq? Great question. So Shaquille Harrison is min priced. Why do we like him? Because now this is an assumption, and if you don't agree with this assumption, then maybe you won't like him as much. But Chandler Hutchison was playing about 30 minutes a game at the 3. Him and Dunn were playing the 3 most of the year. And remember, they're already missing Otto Porter. They're missing Chris Dunn. They're missing all these guys. Now they're missing Shaq Harrison. So it's because of the injuries. I think Shaq Harrison has to play because they don't have bodies. So when you have a guy that's min-priced, what's the probability that he's going to put up a score that's really going to crush you? Think about it. For him to go 6x, what does he have to do at 3K? And of course, you're looking for more than 6x from a 3, because raw points matter to a degree, right? But it's all about using that money that I'm saving by playing him to get more Harden, to get more Yanis, to get more Westbrook. You understand? And at the end of the day, we've got injuries. You know what I mean? So when there's injuries, we got to roll in and be ready to take advantage. But that's a great question, Rebel, because I think those are the kind of questions that you ask, and other people get to learn some stuff. But you want to take advantage. Why is Shaq Harrison popping on models and our models? Because he's expected to get a lot more minutes than his price is telling you. So his price is for the 10, 11 minutes he's been getting, but we're expecting him to get even more today. So that's the short answer. That's why I like Shaq. If he gets 26 minutes, I think he's going to get anywhere from 24 to 26 minimum, right? So if he doesn't, then yeah, I'm fucked, right? But if he does, then it's hard to see him not falling into enough fantasy points to not kill you. And again, the money that I'm saving by playing him, I'll be able to use that to load up on some of the other studs. I feel like Embiid too much, can't get him in on FanDuel since I'm taking Yanis. I understand that, but there is a lot of value. I don't feel comfortable with the lineup, crappy guys around those two spend-ups. Hey, I understand. If you feel a little more balanced, I think a balanced approach will be a lot more contrarian today. I expect everybody to be stars and scrubs. Who's gonna get Simmons minutes? Korkmaz? Yeah, I mean it's gonna spread around a little bit, right? Like who's gonna get Simmons minutes? We'll see Josh Richardson get a lot more time at point guard. I think we'll see Tobias get more usage. Furkan and these guys get more shots, but the problem is we have question marks because it could be Alec Burks, right? It doesn't seem like that's what they're trying to do right now because he's not getting a ton of minutes for the break, but it could be him. Yeah. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna pop up out of here. We're gonna bring Paulie on. He'll answer the rest of your questions and keep you guys updated with some news. I will be updating the projections as soon as I sign off here. You don't got to go anywhere. I'm just going to switch the screen. I don't have the background music I normally have, so I'm just going to switch to a still screen. Just hang tight, and we're going to get these guys rocking. But again, you don't have to go anywhere. This is the same stream we're going to use. As soon as Paulie's ready, he'll pop up on here, man. I appreciate you guys, and I will see you guys tomorrow. We got CB Brown and Paulie handling the show, so I'll be flying back home. So, like I said, Monday we'll be right back to normal with the usual stuff, and I'll have all my resources and everything else. But in the meantime, we'll be back with Paulie in just a little bit. Hang tight. Don't go nowhere.
What's going on, nation? Welcome back. It was a long All-Star break, and we are back on the grind. What do we got? What is this? Like a seven-game slate? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6-game slate. We did just get Ben Simmons ruled out. That was kind of the big news we were waiting on. A couple small things we're looking for. It's just me today. So, I'm going to try to just kind of give you my thoughts. We'll hit the chat. We'll maybe do like top threes at each position and, see if anything else comes in to react to. But just quickly glancing, I believe Eric Gordon's been ruled out. I'm not 100% on that. But I think so. EG. Anyway, here we go. Unlikely to play. All right. Ben Simmons, we know, is out. We know the bigs are out for Shaq. The Bulls, like half the team is out. We'll definitely talk about that. Yeah, I mean, Kevin Huerter is probably the last little piece that we know about that's like questionable. Everything else we, have had a decision on. Good slate for 6 games. There's a couple very stackable games. We have 2 like extremely shorthanded, like large increase in minutes, underpriced kind of situations out there. Would be nice to see some starting lineups today that could help answer some questions. But let's do the tiers real quick. Let me ISO. I'll go down to like 8K on DraftKings, and we'll talk about the studs. So taking it down to, I guess, including Chris Middleton, who I have very little interest in. I think Embiid is now the like top stud on the slate. He's underpriced in a nut spot, and Benny Simmons gets ruled out. Let's do a quick on-off tool, see what kind of impact Ben Simmons has. Ben Simmons getting ruled out. Take a look at I like looking at like very, very recent data on on-off tools because things change. Guys are out. Guys get traded to a team. So I like looking at like very, very recent data to see like, all right, when this guy's been off the court, when the team has been, blah, blah, blah. So, the 2 new additions, Alec Burks and Glenn Robinson, really haven't played enough to be impactful. So I'll run this back 2 full weeks. We'll just take Embiid off. And that's really the only one of note. I'll run this over the last 2 weeks. I'm sorry, not Embiid. Ben Simmons off. And we'll just see like what that impact is right quick like that. Ben Simmons off. Run it. So we get Embiid with a 34% usage rate, 1.51 point per minute. For Ken Korkmaz, we know we had those 2 monster games, 0.95 point per minute. Tobias Harris, 1.85. These are extremely small. Oh, you know what? I got to do the whole month. There was no basketball last month. So these samples are just too small. So let's do last 4 weeks. Run it. Here we go. All right. Still pretty small samples, but Embiid, 1.68, 37% usage. Tobias Harris, 1.21, 25% usage. Korkmaz, 0.85 points per minute. Josh Richardson's been hurt, but he looked pretty good that first game where he got some minutes back. He's obviously in play today. We'll see what their starting lineup looks like, but obviously Al Horford is in play. I like Korkmaz. I think Tybull is in play at mid price now. Lot to like from the Philadelphia side. So Embiid's going to be our top stud. 1.5 fantasy points per minute. I think this game stays close. There's a couple game stacks I really like. This is one of them. After that, Harden, Westbrook, Yanis, I think are likely to blow out their opponents, likely not to finish the game, but still probably get there if they do blow out their opponents, both of them on the road or all three of them. I would probably say Westbrook because he's 1,000 cheaper, and this is going to be like a transition game. Then Giannis and Harden in that order. Trae Young and Zach LaVine are both kind of interesting to me. Atlanta and Miami have played 3 times this year and a few times last with similar lineups. Very fast-paced games, right? Trae Young, 10-5, it's expensive, but he's going to get 35 or more minutes and, just should have huge usage, double-double likely, right? Then Zach LaVine, the Bulls are super short-handed. I'd probably put those two guys actually ahead of Harden and Westbrook. So it's Embiid, LaVine, Westbrook, Trae Young. All right, for the studs. Now let's move it down to the mid-tier. I'll go from 5K to 8. Boom. All right. So, a lot of plays in this range. I really like DeAndre Jordan today. We've seen him close and kind of take the minutes lead away from Allen. Good usage. He contributes to all categories, blocks, potentially steals, rebounds for sure, some assists even, scoring. And with Embiid and Horford, I just expect them to need his size. So I do like DeAndre Jordan quite a bit. When he's gotten the minutes, 28, 29, he's gone for 40s against Indiana, Toronto. Like him quite a bit today. And then I like Ja Morant. The usage is phenomenal on this guy. He's just the real deal. He's been taking massive amounts of shots in close games. And on the road against Sacramento, I kind of think this game will be close and fast-paced. So I think we see Ja with Memphis. They've got around 30 games left right now. They do hold the lead for the 8th seed in the playoffs. I think they'd be thrilled to make the playoffs and will do whatever it takes to get there. So I don't think we see him not get minutes if not needed. Vegas thinks this game's close. Really like Ja Morant at 7K with the triple-double upside. Love Tobias Harris. Like Christian Wood. We'll talk some more about Detroit. De'Aaron Fox, Miles Bridges, Buddy Hield, Bielitsa. Basically everybody, on Memphis, everybody on Sacramento, that's in this mid-tier. DeAndre Jordan, Tomas Satoransky, Thaddeus Young, a couple of Bulls. We'll talk about them too. Those are the spots that I like the most. Derrick Rose, I think, is interesting at 5'9". I like Dinwiddie's price. I think we could take a shot on a Marquis Chris. I like Karis LeVert. Really like Terry Rozier today, at his price. So I think there's quite a bit in the mid-tier to be interested in. And let's take a look at the value. See if there's any questions. So this is, min price down to 5, up to 5. And, Shaq Harrison's projecting to be very popular, with Hutchinson out, min price. We've seen him at monster games when he gets the time. And the Bulls just don't have many guys. So I do like him. Don't see how he hurts you. Josh Richardson, 4,200. No Ben Simmons. Going to see a major usage increase, assist ratio increase, shot attempt increase. All right, so let's talk about the shorthanded teams while we're down here in value. First off, Detroit, this is no Drummond, no Reggie Jackson now, no nobody really, So Derrick Rose was injured, played like a few games before the break, not many minutes. Hard to predict, like with confidence, who the plays are. But, Svi, Marquise Morris, Langston Galloway in the value tier, I think, are all worth consideration today. And then obviously you guys in the mid tier from these teams as well, like Derrick Rose, Bruce Brown, Christian Wood, I think are all really interesting. I think probably 2 or 3 of them really popped today. Me personally, I think Marquise Morris, Christian Wood, and Derrick Rose are the ones you want. Take stabs at speed, Langston Galloway. And then the Bulls are very shorthanded. And, I mentioned Shaq Harrison, Tomas Satoransky at 5K, Kobe White at 47, Daniel Gafford at 3K, Luke Cornett at 37, Archie Diacono at 31. All these guys are viable as well. I just don't really love the studs. I don't know if this value is worth it or not. I think when playing the value on either the Pistons or the Bulls, you're going to want multiple together, right? That means the game probably stayed closer. These guys got, ceilings in minutes and ceilings in output, and most likely multiples do well if that's the case. Other than those 2 shorthanded teams, we also, for value, have some Rockets now, especially with Gordon likely out, to Newell House, Macklemore. Bogdan Bogdanovic at 49 has really played, well. Hasn't played well, shot terribly, but gotten the minutes in the starting role. I think that turns around. This would be a good spot for it. Jabari Parker at 3,700, somebody I think, is the definition of why we do MME. If I was building one team, I'd have a hard time putting Jabari Parker in it. But, he's going to play today. He could play 8 minutes, 15, or possibly 22 to 24. I've seen some people project. If he plays 22 to 24, he's going to ball out at that price. And, I think at least you want to get 10% of somebody that could 10x his price if he does get that ceiling. And even if he gets 16, he's got the multi-category production to, still get you that 7 or 8x with a 24. So I do have interest in Jabari Parker for value. Jordan Poole at 4K. I was hyped to play Jeremy Pargo for Golden State, but it looks like they didn't re-sign him. And I haven't seen them call anybody else up. So they're going to be kind of short as well. Jordan Poole, Kai Bowman should see an increase in minutes. That game I expect to play very, very fast. See if there's anything else value-wise that I think, really worth our time here. And then all the Philly dudes. Korkmaz is probably my favorite. Tybull after that. And then Alec Burks, scorer off the bench, I think is worth our consideration. Harry Giles for Sacramento, 3,400. I kind of expect him to get minutes while everybody's still out. Kent Bazemore's been getting good minutes there. But I do think that Jabari could cut into that, but still, probably see the same minutes. So there's a lot to like for value in the mid tier. I'm just not really into the studs, so I don't know how much of the value I'm going to need. I'm just going to use the YouTube chat today. No, I'll do both. But I'm going to hop in YouTube first, see if there's any questions up in there. Then we'll talk about some cash game optos and do the dirty. Hit the like button if you can. You know the drill. Really likes us. Is Simmons officially out? Yes, he is. Let's see. Yeah, Kyrie is out for the season. I don't know when these comments kind of started. So, if you got questions, fire them in there now. If not, I will, I'm going to check the Wise stream chat and then I will we'll talk about some optimals. All right, Wise stream. Nope, nothing in there. Quick peek at YouTube. Nothing there. All right, cool. So let's move into optimals. With Simmons out, I think for sure Tobias Harris, Embiid, and Josh Richardson are going to crack the cash game build today. Shaq Harrison from the Bulls. Interesting. All right, so Embiid, Tobias Harris, Josh Richardson is cheap. Shaq Harrison, right? Like, we're going to have money. I think you're going to want to play a Bull and a Piston, all right? Even if it's Christian Wood from Detroit, I'm fine with that. Little revenge spot against Milwaukee. They should get crushed, but they just don't have many guys to play minutes. Derrick Rose is a risk. I don't know if I'd play him in cash, but, if he gets the minutes, the usage is going to be phenomenal, getting paced up, like, one of the only capable guys on that team, right? Then, like, from the Bulls, like, Levine's obviously fine. I don't know if he's optimal at 9.2, but Satoransky at 5K, Thaddeus Young at 5.4, I think could easily be included into a cash game lineup. Most likely we got enough money for a stud, so I would say Yanis, right, would be the next guy. I think we'd stick into a cash game, like, instead of having to choose between Russ or Harden, but either one of those is fine. And then depending on what kind of money you have left, don't mind getting De'Aaron Fox into a cash game lineup today. Robert Covington for Houston with Gordon out projects to be pretty popular. But, I think you're going to start it with Shaq Harrison, Embiid, Tobias, and J. Rich, right? And kind of build out from there. All right, a couple questions, Game. And how many projected minutes for Burks tonight? Let's take a quick look around the industry as these optimizers are getting updated and see what some people have. That's like tough because they do have a few bodies they could play there. They did get the whole week off, so like these guys should be a lot more acclimated. So one system I'm seeing 26 projected minutes. Obviously at 3.6, popping off the projection. I don't know if he'll get that many, but it's possible. Who do we think starts for Philly now, right? Like, I think, definitely Tobias, Embiid. Korkmaz did start before the break. Probably Josh Richardson. Then I think it'll be Tybull, but they could go NATO. They could move Horford back into the starting lineup, go J. Rich, Korkmaz, Tobias, Horford, and Embiid. So, like, hopefully we get that lineup soon, and we can kind of look deeper into that. Let me take a look at another system on Alec Burks. I don't know if I project 26, but I could be off. All right, let's see. Another system I'm looking at is gonna have him at 21. All right, so we got 21 to 26. I tend to agree with like the 21, like more in that range. I think 18 to 22 is more likely, just because they do have Tybull, they do have Josh Richardson, they do have Korkmaz, they do have Glenn Robinson. So there's a few bodies there, and these guys are just new. So I would say 18 to 22 is where I feel comfortable projecting Burks, but he could certainly get more. Next question: what are your two must-have studs? For me, it would be probably Embiid, and then Zach LaVine. But one of Westbrook or Harden or Yanis is totally fine there too. Trae Young and John Collins a play in the same lineup? Absolutely. Like I said, we've got a lot of sample size on these two playing each other. The games just always play very fast, very high scoring, a lot of turnovers, just a lot of DFS. Do you, Clark, as part of the Kings Grizz game stack, thinking Kings go small to take Joe out of court? Well, the Kings have no choice. They kind of have to go small. Don't know if that gets Joe off or not. But yeah, I like Clark. Brandon Clark's one of the better rookies, and he does have big upside. We saw it the last game before the break. We saw him as MVP of the Summer League. And with Jay Crowder out of there and Winslow still not back, like his minutes, may increase just 2 or 3 minutes a game, and that's like at his price enough to make him very valuable. I would definitely include him in stacks, not everyone, but certainly as a piece. Like with Memphis, I really kind of want one of those three bigs in my stacks, right? Like obviously Ja Morant's just, he correlates so well in game stacks with other guys from Memphis. So you want him, and then I think you want him with Joel, him with Triple J, him with Clark, and then, choosing between like Melton and or what's his name? Dylan Brooks as like the other piece of the stack. Good question. Any Joe Harris love? Not really. They're getting paced down. He's kind of scoring dependent, and Dinwiddie and LeVert have been doing so much, and then I like DeAndre Jordan over there. So not really, but he might make like 2% of my teams. 6:30, 30 minutes to lock. So I do like game stacks, right? Sacramento, Memphis is my favorite one. We got a 1-point spread, a 230 total. Memphis gets beat by guards. Sacramento has 3 very good ones. Sacramento's getting beat up by bigs, and Memphis has a couple good bigs. The pace should be very fast. Memphis is motivated to make the playoffs. Sacramento, I think that they want to close out strong, and they want to, they want to be players in free agency. Like they probably feel they're one, Paul George, Kawhi type signing away from being a legitimate contender right next season. So I think they're going to push to finish the year out strong as well. Right? So I like that game. Brooklyn, Philly with no Simmons, major defensive downgrade for Philly. Brooklyn plays real fast, and I think without Simmons, Philly could kind of pick up the pace as well. So, like that game to stay close, and think that the stacking options there with those prices makes a lot of sense. Miami, Atlanta, 6-point spread, 230 total. I'm a little nervous about Atlanta keeping it close, but I still want to have stacks of that. Chicago, Charlotte doesn't project to have a good pace, but the prices on these guys are all really good. If this game does stay close, which Vegas has a 4-point game, gets into overtime, some of these other games kind of blow out, it could be the better game on the night. Houston, Golden State, Detroit, Milwaukee. If that game stays close, either one, right, they'll be awesome stacks. But I have a hard time seeing either right now. I just think both road teams kind of run away with it. So, I usually stack at least half of my lineups every night. I'll probably have like 30% Memphis, Sacramento, 20 Brooklyn, Philly, Atlanta, Miami, and then like 5%, 10% Milwaukee, Det, Houston, Golden State, Charlotte, Chicago. And that's what I got to say about that. A couple questions in the WiseTake chat. 3,700 left at utility. I like those kind of questions. Let me put this thing down. 37. All right. You could try Jabari Parker. You could roll with Luke Cornett. Langston Galloway is viable for that. You know, the riskiest with big upside is Jabari Parker. Langston Galloway is probably your safest, and Luke Cornett somewhere in the middle there. And if you had an extra 100, I would probably go with Marquis Morris. Cornett from Ranimal, yeah, he's fine. Fox or Morant, and also Woods or Tobias Harris. I'd say I'm kind of digging Morant a little bit over Fox, but that one's super close. And, I think I might be in the minority on my Morant. So, take that for what you will. Woods or Tobias Harris, I got to say Tobias right now. Like, Woods is the one guy. Woods and Derrick Rose, I'm nervous if, say, Milwaukee's winning by 40 at halftime. I don't know how much they play in the second half. Tobias Harris, just the usage increase, the opponent, the pace, feels very, very safe for me. Shooting guard value plays. Got like 10K to spend on FanDuel on 2 shooters. All right, let's open up FanDuel. Then I got to get to building some. And then hopefully we get some lineups or some other news to react to, kind of discuss. But, all right, so FanDuel shooting guards, you got 10K. So Bogdanovich at 4.6. Furkan Korkmaz at 39. Jordan Poole at 44. If you went like Bruce Brown at 38, you would have 6'2". You could play LeVert. So I don't mind that. LeVert and Bruce Brown. I don't mind Malik Monk not Malik Monk, but Damian Lee and Dylan Brooks, Josh Richardson and Damian Lee, Josh Richardson and Dylan Brooks. I'd probably go Josh Richardson, Dylan Brooks, or Bogdanovich, right? 2 of those 3 right there. Again, cool. All right, so let me do some shaking and baking with my teams. Figure out who I'm going to play at higher exposure. All right, so Shaq Harrison, I think you just got to get some exposure to. I really like DeAndre Jordan today. I'm going to go overweight on him. I love Josh Richardson. I think you could play like up to a lot. I'm going to probably allow up to like 70% of Josh Richardson. Who else? Terry Rozier, I want good exposure to. Bielitsa, I like a lot. Joel Embiid, I think you should take a lot of exposure to. I love John Morant today. I love Tobias Harris today. Jimmy Butler, 7,900 against Atlanta. that game stays close. He's just going to crucialize. I do like Satoransky quite a bit today. Dinwiddie's price is just too low. He's probably going to be kind of contrarian too. People like Fox and the value. Zach LaVine is definitely a guy. I mean, his price is a little rough, but I do like him. I do like Furkan Korkmaz quite a bit today too. I got to admit. Karis LeVert. Even at 6'7", I do like Karis LeVert a lot. Give me some randomness. I like doing 5-man stacks. I let the optimizer choose how that 5 is distributed. Sometimes I get 5 from one team. Sometimes I get 3 2s, 4 1. But I like the 5-man stack. I do like 6, 4 on bigger slates. It's hard for me to envision like the 5th guy in a stack being better than, the second best player in another team. Take some questions after I get these crunches off. Let me just make sure there ain't nobody that didn't get enough of what I want. That young, I do. I did. Yeah, getting a lot of J. Rich, Embiid, Tobias, Shaquille Henderson, Shaq Harrison, Bielitsa, Terry Rozier. We got to lower some of these. Henderson, something like that. All right, back to the questions. Let's see. Wow, Wood's not starting. Okay, so we got some lineups. Cool. Let's check that out. Let me also quickly see if any other news came out. Pistons will start Rose, Brown, Snell, Doumbia, Maker. That is really unexpected. Wowzers. Everything else. Daniel DeFord will play up the bench. Kevin Huerter available to play. All right. Bucks, Bledsoe, Matthews, Middleton, Yanis, Brook Lopez, as expected over there. Wow. Did not expect that, man, from Detroit. Why would Woods not start? He's been playing awesome for them. I gotta feel like that's some kind of like punishment thing. Definitely makes me nervous. I'll probably reduce my ownership on him unless we get some clarity on that. But not starting, I don't like that. Anybody, if you got any like info on that, please put it in the chat ski. I'm a little shell shocked by that did not see that coming. But hopefully we get some clarity on that. But that would certainly make him significantly riskier. Usually when something like that happens, there is like a reason for it. What that reason may be, I just don't know at this point. Who's starting lineup? So Sekou Doumbia, Tony Snell, Thon Maker, Bruce Brown, Derrick Rose. I'm going to increase my Derrick Rose exposure with Rose in that starting lineup and no Woods. Like Derrick Rose 5'9", he's going to have humongous usage. Yeah, just going to have to do that. Just, Tank gods have spoken. You might be right, Kevin Jackson. Very true. He definitely got to change up. I think I got up in that. Christian Wood. Don't know what to do with you. Not starting. Probably got to know. I like Marquis Morris regardless, although like this Wood thing now they may play on the second unit. I don't know what to make of this. Kyle Anderson's a guy I got a lot of exposure on my crunch that I don't really want. I just don't think we need him that much today. I'd rather get more in the mid tier, what he brings to the table. Kind of just getting 20% of all the studs and just being pretty heavy on Embiid. Let's do this. Crunch that. 6:45, 15 minutes to lock nation. Any questions? Throw them in there. Trying to see if I can find any news on why Christian Woods is no longer in the starting lineup. I don't know, players. I'm sure there's a reason, though. Awesome. Cruncher is doing the dirty to me. I love when it does that. Question. Yeah, Wood ain't starting. Good looking on Hughes. I'm not seeing any like reasoning on it, which Pistons have great Twitter personality too. Let's see if Rod Beard has anything to say on this. Rod Beard, one tweet in the last hour. He's got the starters. Unexpected drippage. Yeah. Not really seeing. Someone else asked why he's not starting. Yeah, nothing, man. We need some info. Do I think Harrison Barnes is a good option? Don't really like him that much. I don't think you need that right now. That's I might have like 2% of him because I have a lot of stacks of that game. Oh shit. Is Cruncher down? yeah. I think Cruncher is down. Wow, not again. This is gonna send me into just like a sheer panic. Awesome. I love when this happens. All right, Nation, 12 minutes to lock. My optimizer is down at the moment. Not fun. Hopefully we get some clarity on the Woods situation, but I'm lowering him, increasing Derrick Rose. Everything else kind of remains the same. Hopefully I'm not forced. Oh, I think we're back up. All right. We are back. We are getting Doug back. 11 minutes to lock. Nope, we are not back. All right. Take some questions. Look for other options. I had 4,700 left on FanDuel. Is Fee still a viable point? Yeah, he's totally a viable point. 47 left on FanDuel. Harrison Barnes. Any news on Philly? Yeah, we do have the Philly starting lineup. We went over that. I'm sorry, we don't have this time. Let me hit a refresh here. Sorry, I thought you said Detroit for a second. No, I don't have Philly's lineup yet. We did get Miami, Kendrick Nunn, Duncan Robinson, Jimmy Butler, Jay Crowder, Bam Adebayo, pretty much as expected. So 47. My FanDuel, my Opto's down, so I'm just gonna have to go to FanDuel. Just give me a second. Bear with me. So I'm gonna guess Harry Barnes is forward over there. 47. I guess you got to go to Taurean Prince, or Jay Crowder's fine, or DeAndre Hunter. Yeah, one of those three. Jay Crowder, Taurean Prince, or DeAndre Hunter. And I got bigger problems. Unbelievable. Looks like I'm going to have to hand build some teams in a panic. This is going to be fun. If this is happening to you guys right now as well, and you have a ton of lineups out there, like first thing I would do, only one game starts at 7, Milwaukee, Detroit, right? So, I don't think you need anybody, from either team. No one's mandatory, but I do like Derrick Rose a lot. Yanis is obviously one of the better plays on the slate. There's probably one or two other really good plays on Detroit. Just now we're even more lost as to who that would be. But that's the first thing you got to decide. Say you got 100 lineups and you don't got no optimizer. Whatever you put in, you're going to get stuck with. So, Derrick Rose is one guy I definitely consider getting 100% of, but I really don't want that. I'd rather have like 50% of it. But I'd feel better about having nothing from that game, having all players in my lineup with 7:30 and later starts, and hoping that the site gets up soon and we can late swap into, a variety of lineups without having 100% of somebody. Derrick Rose is probably the guy I consider most. And it does not look. Yeah, I went with Jake. Yeah, I think that's totally fine. So I'm screwed. But take a sneak peek at the new automated cheat sheets that are streaming right out of our projections. On the high end, our projections like James Harden, Yanis, and Embiid. Don't tell CK I'm sharing this with you guys. Just a little sneak peek action. Terry Rowe, Derrick Rose, Tobias Harris, Karis LeVert, Jaren Jackson Jr., Shaq Harrison, Josh Richardson, Kobe White, likes Harry Giles. Do with that as you will. Unreal, Cruncher. Second time in a month. Not cool. 6 minutes to lock, Nation. Any last second questions? Hit me, because I can't do nothing. I'm just, hitting refresh 1,000 times and praying, basically. But I did get one of my crunches through. I just duplicated that. As long as it reopens after lock, I'll have the diversity I'm looking for. Another lesson on why you should have, why you should have, legitimate dummy lineups earlier, You're making projections throughout the day. Yep, just down. Not fun. All right, let's see if there's any other questions. All right, thanks, man. Yeah, no problem, Matty. See if any lineups came out. Nope, nothing new. No new news. Nothing on why Woods isn't starting. They're doing us dirty. See any from out here? Nothing. Yeah, ATL Miami certainly could. A little bit worried about Atlanta keeping close with Miami, but Trae Young has surprised me multiple times. 3 minutes to lock, and then all right, son. See you later. Yeah, no doubt. Employees putting in that OT. Appreciate that. Shout out to my employees over here down in West Palm Beach, Mako. I'll let you what. Come down and see me. You got a car problem. Yeah, man. Nothing. Just no news, no optimizer, not many lineups. Our pets' heads are falling off. 3 minutes to lock. That is what it is. I don't know what to do.
Go ahead, Paul.
What's up, bro?
Take it out, man.
All right, dude.
All right.
I'll see you later.
Fuck looks nice. Yeah. Come on.
All right. Yep. Those are my guys. No opto, no new lineups. But you guys know what to do, right? Play a lot of the shorthanded Philly, Josh Rich, Tobias Harris, and Bede. I like some Cork Maz. Play some Derrick Rose. Play some guys from the Bulls. Play some guys from the Pistons. And, I hope everybody does well. Yes, we're going to check out 2 minutes to lock. Doesn't look like anything else is going to come down the pike. Thanks for jumping on with me, guys. Tomorrow will be, I think, me and Stevie Brown bring you probably from like 5:30 till lock. And not sure why it's projected to be so close. Miami is missing, 2 bodies. It's in Atlanta. They mostly played in close games, so not shocked on that line. But that's gonna do it. We'll be back tomorrow. Like I said, me and Stevie Brown. Then next week we get back to normal. CK will be back from vacation, back in full gear for the second half. So that's going to do it. Good luck, everybody, tonight. And Cruncher, come on. Killing. First day back. This is what I got to deal with. This is what you do to me? All right, Nation. We're going to get out of here. Peace.